I'm Susan. Welcome to Tea and Games. The tea today is once again Salty Caramel Pumpkin Black from Tea Runners. This is one of our favorite seasonal teas. And it is all, again, same shirt, same tea, everything, because I am recording the 2 videos of this top games list back to back. And I should say quickly that this is not an all-time great top games list. This list is very personal. It's basically, there are a lot of good games that I've never played. So obviously they're not going to be on this list. So just keep that in mind. This is a very personal list. I used PubMeeple to do the rankings, which was an interesting experience going through their either or selection process. And I was surprised at the way some things came out, but I felt like other things were pretty much okay. Anyhow, we are to the top 10. Oh, and before we get to it, welcome to new subscribers. I'm glad you're here. We're a small channel, very small, very casual, just hanging out talking about board games. This is the first time I've done a top 50. My husband Robert and I are casual weekend board gamers, and we are usually, I say we, I mean me, because he doesn't do this thing, but talking about what we played most recently. Although right now we are doing the top 50 and we are to the top 10. So let's get to it. Number 10. Dum, da, da, dum. Number 10 is actually a relatively new game. Another one that I might say recency bias on, but we have actually played this a lot since we got it. So it's gotten broken in very well, and that is Forest Shuffle. And we have the Alpine expansion for it, and I'm looking forward to getting the new expansion that was released at Essen this year, 2024. You are creating an ecosystem. You lay down tree cards, and then you put things that might live beneath the trees or up in the trees, or wildlife that might be passing through the forest on either side of the tree. So, and you score points off of that, and you get some synergy going, some really interesting synergy going by being able to score points on cards for other cards that you have that they work with. This game, if you like card combinations, this game is the most insanely combo-tastic game I've played. Now, admittedly, I'm just a casual gamer, so I'm sure that somebody will be able to tell me of a game that is even crazier as far as combos go. But this game is super, incredibly, mind-bogglingly high scoring. And you think, oh, this game is broken because I am doing this with that. And when you add in the combo of that, then I get an unstoppable number of points. And then somebody outscores you because they also came up with a mind-blowing ecosystem combination. And you're going like, okay, I'll do that next time. And then next time you do that, but you're going like, wait, what is he doing with the fireflies over there? So you're just kind of going like, and you're scoring off of that? Oh my goodness, that's going to be a lot of points. So yeah, there are just crazy amounts of combinations and crazy amounts of points in this game. It is a card game. Just honestly, this is technically considered a board game because it comes with a board which represents the clearing, and it's very pretty. And that's where you put the cards that you're paying for other cards for, or you can draw from the clearing instead of from the deck. But this is fundamentally just a card game. It doesn't have like tokens or dice or other things. It's just got that board. If you wanted to play it without the board, you could do that. You could just play it and then put the cards out into the middle area of the table for the clearing. And the clearing is cleared after 10 cards, so you just have to keep count, which we do anyway. So yeah. This is a pure card game that is masquerading as a board game. but we like this a lot. It is a huge amount of fun. It's very absorbing and very immersive, creating that ecosystem. And that is number 10 on our top 10, even though it is, game's been out, I think, over a year now, but still it is more recent than some of the other games that have been on this list and that are coming up on this list. For a shuffle, number 10. Number 9. Number 9 is Above and Below. We like Ryan Laukatz's games. We like the artwork, we like the gameplay, we like the people that live in Arzium, the world he's created that a lot of his games are set in. Above and Below is one of our favorite of his games. I could just do a Ryan Laukat list, quite honestly, because we enjoy his games so very, very much. This is one of our all-time favorites, as you know by the fact that it is in the number 9 slot. It does have some story elements to it. It has a storybook, but it is... you're going into the caves to explore, and the book is an encounter book. It tells you who you meet and what happens, and you make choices about what you want to go for based upon your number of lanterns that you have, because it's dark in those caves. But yes, Above and Below is fairly well known. I'm not sure that I can say anything about it that maybe hasn't already been said before, because the game is just kind of a modern classic in my opinion. And do keep in mind that this list is my opinion. So this is not an all-time great list that I'm making here, because I haven't played all of the games. I have a fairly modest board game collection. But you know, this is a good one. And it is number 9. Number 8 is a game that I just keep, it seems like every time I do something, I mention it, because I mentioned it in the context of another game that has an Amazon theme in the previous video. So this is number 8 is Canopy. Canopy is a 2-player game from Weird City Games, Tim Eisner. Recently, they've come out with Canopy Evergreen, which is set in the Pacific Northwest and which can play up to 4 and which has a player board. But a lot of the mechanics on that are the same. But for a compact box game, and notice I said compact box, this is a good game. We like this a lot. This was the first game I sleeved because we played it so much and are still playing it so much that I just looked at the cards, and I mean, the cards were not in bad shape, but I thought, we're playing this so much. We love it so much. These cards will not last our lifetime unless I sleeve them. So, and the artwork is just beautiful on this. Vincent Dutray artwork, folks. But one thing I should mention is that it does have some scary critters in here. But one of the things that you do in this game is at the beginning of the game, you remove a certain number of cards. I can't remember the number. I'm going blank. But you remove a certain number of cards. So if there are people you're playing with, or you yourself are kind of triggered by spiders or snakes, you can take those cards out as part of the cards that you're removing at the beginning of the game. So nobody will have some kind of an unpleasant shock during the game. But it's got really wonderful stuff. It is a table hog, though. I mean, look at the size of this box. It's T90. But when you take everything out of this box, it's going to go all over the table, because the trees, you are building them up, and then you're building out your ecosystem of flora and fauna. And so consequently, my spot for when I play this game is going to kind of take up this end of the table, and then Robert's going to take up this part of the table over here. So you're going to need a much bigger table than you might think for a small game. The new version of it, the trees go up rather than out, but you have a player board, so again, table space. This is a terrific game, though. We just love this so much. There are 3 and 4 player variants in this box, but we've never tried it. We just love this at 2 because it was designed to be a 2-player game. If you rarely ever play at 2, you might want to look at the new version, which plays up to 4. But yeah, Canopy, this is good stuff. It is just so enjoyable. There's a little bit of push your luck in there. And I run into people that online that generally don't like push your luck, but Canopy is still a hit with them. It's something that it's, I guess, a very individual sort of thing, but I really like that push your luck element in there where you're pulling cards off the deck and you're looking at them and you're deciding, do I take this or do I look at the next pile? Of course, I can't come back to this pile if I go on to the next pile. And do I want to take those or do I want to try the third one? And if I miss on the third one, then I'm just going to draw one off the deck. Do I really want to do that? That third pile has got a lot of cards, but some of them could be bad cards. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going in there, and it's just fun. So that's Canopy. And that was number 8. Number 7, I don't have the box for number 7. I'm sorry, folks. Number 7, its container has changed over time. Number 7 is Sea Salt and Paper, which is a wonderful little card game for up to 4 players. I had it in its original box, and then we got the expansion, Extra Salt, and it would no longer fit into the box. So I put it into a deck box, and it just knocked around and went everywhere with us in the deck box. And then I started getting quiver cases so that I could, because I noticed we have a lot of card games. So I put it into a quiver case with a couple of other favorites. This is that card game that has origami artwork on the cards so that you are playing these cards down and you're doing it for points. Sometimes it's like set collection, and sometimes you're putting down pairs of things in order to get extra stuff, like drawing extra cards, or sometimes you're just trying to collect penguins. Robert's got a thing about the penguins. He's always snatching up those penguins. But the artwork is beautiful. You have mermaid cards in here, and if you can get all of the mermaids, you instantly win. But Robert's done that once. I have not. But it's always something to hope for, isn't it? But yes, and you have an interesting mechanism for when the round ends. You call it. When you think that you've got maybe more points, enough points, whatever, you call the game end. And there are 2 different ways of doing that. It kind of depends upon whether or not you think your opponent may have more than you do. And there are color bonuses that you scored. You notice the background color of the cards were different. So there are color bonuses you score, and mermaids score off of those color bonuses. So Sea Salt and Paper, it is a lot of fun. It is a fairly simple card game in some ways, but it's just very, very enjoyable. And that will play up to 4 players. That would be probably my only downside to that, is that you can't squeeze in a 5th player or a 6th player. It's not designed for that, though. You know, one of these days, I think I'm going to try it at 5 just because. I mean, we have some extra cards, right? So anyhow, that is Sea Salt and Paper at number 7, and that is not surprising because we play it a lot. We play Canopy a lot. We play Above and Below a lot, though a little bit less than some of the card games because it's more of a board game. It's more of a big game thing. And for a shuffle, again, another card game that we play a lot. So now we are to number 6. Okay, number 6 is weird. I'm just going to tell you this. We have kind of a crossover situation here, only it's not like a crossover between me and another person. It's a crossover between this game and another game. Yeah, it's a thing. Number 6 is Carcassonne Winter Edition, which I wanted so badly I ordered it from Germany. It has a winter landscape. This particular winter edition, I think it's the second winter edition, has a winter river that is included with it. It does not come with the gingerbread expansion, though. After we got this, we found that we were playing this version of Carcassonne more than the regular version. I mean, we played it last year, all fall, all winter, and into the spring. It's racked up a huge number of plays. There's something about the artwork. And I mean, it's like a blank white canvas. What is there to say? But there's something about the artwork, those fine little dark line drawings on there. It's just, I don't know, it's pleasant. And we really like Carcassonne. So Carcassonne Winter Edition, which plays exactly like the base game of Carcassonne. I mean, technically, this should have been not on the list because it's a duplicate. But I don't know. We just clicked with it so much. There's something about the artwork, and it plays just like the other game, but we just kept coming back to this version, maybe because the artwork was new and fresh to us, that I felt like it needed its own slot in the rankings, so I didn't cull it out of the duplication thing when I ran everything through Pub Meeple. I didn't pull it as a duplication. So, yeah, we've actually got Carcassonne Winter Edition at number 6 because we're weird like that. And that's probably not a surprise to regular viewers. I would say a lot of this top 10 is not a surprise. I probably have the world's most anticlimactic top 10 to anybody who's been watching this channel for very long. But number 5... also, probably not a surprise to people who are watching the channel this long, though you may be surprised it's as low as number 5. Number 5 is Robinson Crusoe. If we played this more, this game could be higher. I feel like it could be higher, but it's kind of a lifestyle game. It's a big, deep thing, and it's tough, and we don't play it very often. Every time we play it, we say we really should play this more often. But we just don't, because this is maybe, I think this could possibly be the biggest, heaviest game. It's a contender for the biggest, heaviest game in the top 10. So it doesn't get played very often, but when we play it, we absolutely love it. It is hard. It is difficult. It is punishing, but it's also just really interesting, and for some reason, we just really like it. So anyhow, I've got some expansions for it. I didn't go all in on that big, huge Game Found thing because at the time that campaign was running, I had not yet played the base version. I didn't even own a copy of the game. So it's like I'm not going to go all in on a super deluxified edition of a game I'm interested in but have never played, because what if I hate it? As it turned out, I got the base game and I don't hate it. It is number 5. But yeah, this is, a lot of the games on my list tend to be mid to lightweight and family weight games that you can play with your friends and family, whether they're gamers or not. This one, not so much. This is a very tough co-op. You need some experienced gamers and gamers that are okay with everybody dying, or at least being severely wounded and savaged by wild animals, because that's a thing. But anyhow, it is a survival game. If you like survival games, and I mean, there are a lot of video games that are survival games, maybe Robinson Crusoe would be a hit with people who like video survival games. Something to think about. Anyway, that's number 5. And for number 4, I'm actually kind of surprised this did not end up higher in some ways. But I mean, you can only fit so many games into a top 10. Rome. Another Ryan Lockett game from Red Raven Games. This was the first Ryan Lockett game we got, and I had to sleeve the cards because I actually damaged the cards. We played it so much, I damaged the cards. The big, hefty, nice, beautiful cards. And I got a new version when they did the reprint campaign because it went out of print. This is an area control, area majority game, and it is small. This is a small box game that is small. You are laying it out. This is your area here. And you have people. A sleeping sickness has fallen across the land, and you must send your people out to find others and revive them, and then they will join the hunt with their own unique pattern of searching. Yes, indeed. And you will get coins, which will allow you to buy artifacts, which will give you victory points also, as well as the points you get off of the lands. You need to have a majority, and you may notice that there's not an odd number on those grids. There is an auction mechanic, a bidding mechanic, I should say, for if you are tied for a card, you each have an equal number of things on the card, but some of those artifacts will allow you to move pieces or swap out pieces. So there is another way besides bidding, which can be a little awkward in a two-player game, in order to resolve ties. But a lot of times we will, in a two-player game, be going after the same stuff or going after different stuff, but if you put a coin on something that somebody else does, then you get, I mean, you know, if you put a token on there, then you will get a coin when they complete it. So there's a lot of interesting mechanisms in this, and this is just, it's a weirdly relaxing game. Robert and I both play it so much because it's just super relaxing and enjoyable. And it's, I don't know, we like all of the little creatures that live in Arzium, all of those little people, the toad people and the lizard people and the glogos. So yeah, if you wanted to like just kind of get a Red Raven game that was not deeply into storytelling and that was small and compact, this could be it, because it plays up to 4 players, and this is the game layout. And the cards are kind of largest size cards, but it's not going to take up the whole table. But we like this so very, very much. It's really, really tricky. Our games are very, very tight. Very, very hotly contested games. We have not played it with more than 2. And I would really like to, because I think that at more than 2 players, it's going to really have more depth and complexity, and it's going to get a lot harder, as if it weren't hard enough. I mean, it's not super hard. It's definitely easy to learn, but tricky to play really well and win, because everybody else is going to be doing all that good stuff that you're doing too. So that is Rome at number 4. Number 3, our crossover here, which is a surprise to no one except that it's at 3, is Carcassonne, which is Robert's favorite game and one of my favorite games, because I'm the one that just keeps buying expansions and mini expansions for it. Just when you think that there couldn't possibly be more stuff to get for Carcassonne, I will find something else nifty. This is one of, I mean, if I had to make a combined list, this top 50 list is me. Robert didn't run everything through Pub Meeple, but if Robert and I put our heads together and came up with a combined top 10 games that we both loved equally and as passionately, this would still be in the top 10. And you know that winter edition is probably going to be there too. But the game is extremely simple. It's really entry level. I mean, if you really, really want to get somebody that's into modern board gaming and you want to ease them in on the lowest level possible, Carcassonne would be a good place to start. Just don't play with fields, because fields, I know some experienced gamers that find fields confusing, and a lot of times we don't play with fields, though there are some expansions that make fields a little bit more easy to understand and manage. The digital version of this, you can tap a button and it will show you fields so that you know when you can take over fields and who has just taken over yours, which I find really nifty. But we like this a lot. It's tile laying, which is supremely satisfying. It's got meeples. This is the game, I believe, that introduced the whole meeple thing. And it can, if you add expansions to it, grow in depth and complexity from a very simple game in which you are trying to build cities to score points off the cities and complete roads to score points off the roads and fields. it can grow to something that has a lot of depth and a huge amount of complexity, particularly if you start combining expansions. I really need to do a video just about Carcassonne and our favorite expansions, because our favorites are not necessarily the same as the ones I see everybody else recommending. So yeah, but it is one of our favorite games, as you would guess by the fact that we have base game Carcassonne as 2 of our top 10. And this one was number 3. Okay, number 2. I am always saying this is my favorite game. This is my favorite game. You all know this is my favorite game. I have said so many times this is my favorite game, even though we don't play it very often because it's ginormous and it seems like it takes all day to play. And that is Firefly the game. Now, I am showing you the base game box here, but I have all of the Firefly stuff. I actually think I have a few duplicates of promo cards because they did a Kickstarter for an anniversary edition, which has a box that is like this big. It's the biggest game box I own. It takes 2 of us to get it off of the Calyx without knocking anything down or it crushing us. Because it will not fit inside the Calyx. I did not go all in on that because I love it. It's my favorite game. Notice it's at number 2. It's my favorite game. So I already had all the stuff except for the new expansion and the hand-painted minis for the ships. So I just got the upgrade kit, which is basically, I got a big empty box with 1 expansion and the upgrade kit and another playmat. So yeah, duplicate playmat, but it's better than the one I have. So so then I loaded all of my Firefly stuff into that. But that box, it's like I'm not going to wrestle it off the top of the Calyx with other stuff stacked on top of it, so that I can show you that this is my favorite game. But it's number 2. Is it really? This is a good game. It is pick up and deliver. It is hard. It's got skill checks all over the place, but I do kind of love me a good skill check. I don't like combat so much, but I do love a good skill check. And the anniversary edition says it will play up to 10, which just kind of makes my heart stop, because with the 2 of us, it can take a good chunk of the day to play. But this is such a good game. It gets the feel of the show. It does to me, because we are big fans of the show, which was canceled many, 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 many years ago after only 1 season. So, what is number 1? If Firefly is my favorite game, how could there be another game ahead of Firefly? I kind of spoiled this in an earlier video because I did this Pub Meeple ranking a few months ago and was kind of shocked at the results. Terraforming Mars ended up at number 1. We've never played this game. We've never taken it all out of the box and laid it out and played it. We've taken it all out of the box, attempted to play it, bounced off of it because we were new gamers and didn't know what we were doing and didn't understand anything. And then I got the digital version, and from the digital version, I learned, that's kind of sticking out there. And from the digital version, I learned how to play. So I learned how to play Terraforming Mars, and I play Terraforming Mars all the time, digitally, against AIs or solo. I've really gotten into the solo game. And one of the interesting things about Terraforming Mars is strategically, the game is very different depending upon player count. The solo game is a very different game. Still good, mind you, but strategically, what you need to do is different. How you go about playing the game to win is different from if you're playing with 2 players. The 2-player game itself is different from the 3 or 4-player game because there's more pressure for those milestones and awards with 2 players because they're just going to be divided up between 2 of them, and you don't want somebody to get too many of those things. So strategically, there are significant differences from player for player count, and I find that interesting, even though I'm not playing with real human beings. But I also find the game interesting because it's very sciencey. I mean, I don't think you could actually terraform Mars using these cards, but still, it really leans into theme. It's got all of that whole Euro game resource management production thing, build your engine stuff. But at the same time, it's very, very thematic. You're dealing with biological processes and planting and trying to get the temperature, the water, and the oxygen of the planet up to a certain level. And you are trying to build out areas on the thing. It is not area control. I mean, you can string tiles together, yes, but you don't score for, you score for what you have created, but you don't necessarily, you're not competing for stuff in a way that's like typical area control, area majority. But I mean, you really got to get stuff on the board if you want to win. So yes, you do have to put stuff on the board. You do have to occupy space, but I just love this game so much. It just got its hooks into me very, very early. And I'm going to put a link down below for a video I did recently after I was shocked to discover that this had turned up as the #1 game on my list. I did a video called My Weird Terraforming Mars Thing, in which I will talk about my weird terraforming Mars thing in a little bit more depth. I do have a number of expansions for this, and I have some digital expansions as well, but this is just such a good game. It is so interesting. The upkeep and management and housekeeping, it's going to be kind of tough tracking everything with the physical game compared to the digital. The digital, there's a lot of automated processes. I would say that if you were trying to get somebody into the game, getting them into it digitally will be a little bit less daunting because that whole, it calculates things. It tells you, it keeps track of your tags for you. It keeps track of your resources for you. It keeps track of the discounts that you'll get on cards for certain tags. So it does a lot of that whole maintenance stuff that makes this game a little bit not an entry-level game, shall we say, because we got this game when we first started getting into gaming. I mean, we were playing Carcassonne, and we went from that to Terraforming Mars, and it just took the top of our head clean off. We couldn't even play it. So not an entry-level game, but it is just so interesting. And I've just gotten so immersed in it because I have played it at this point hundreds of times, though it hasn't gotten to the table. That could be changing soon, though. We have a friend that is interested in learning and playing the game. So, yeah, it's going to get on the table at some point. And I have sleeved the cards, and it is all ready to go. All it needs are people to terraform Mars. So that is the top 10 list. That is the #1 game, which is just bewildering to me because of the whole My Weird Terraforming Mars thing. But yeah, there's a lot of games in this top 50 list that are surprises. Surprises that they're on the list. Surprises that they are in the section of the top 50 that they are. And I think it will be interesting to do this again in a few years' time. I don't think that there's going to be like vast turnover in this top 50 next year. But I think I might do this again in a few years' time when there has been time for things to shift a little bit. There are some games in this top 50 that we have not had that long, that got in there because we were so darned impressed with our early plays of it and because it's still so new and shiny. And there are some games that we have played many, many, many times. I suppose it's theoretically possible we could get burned out on them, but some of these games, I'm thinking that's not likely. So, yeah, I think there could be some shifting of games. some games that are just too new and shiny to say if they're going to be on this list in the long term, or if there's going to be changes in the future, because we'll start playing other games more and playing those less. You just really can't tell. And that's the thing with these lists. They are very subjective. This is not an all-time great list. This is a me great list, right now great list. So I appreciate y'all hanging out with me here for this top 50 list, which I started on my second channel anniversary. And it has taken over the month of October. So I think the next thing we may do will be spooky season games. Although we've got some non-spooky games that are on the table. Yeah, the dining room table is getting kind of trashed. We're playing a lot. So there's stuff to look forward to. And I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. And I will see you next time round the table. Bye.